All right. Welcome to another edition of Shabbat Lounge. This is Matt.
And Jake here.
I almost forgot what I say, Jake.
I guess it's been a minute.
So it has been. I was just like, what do I do now? Where am I?
All right.
So,
we'll fix this in post.
Yes. There's so much post along with makeup. Hair and makeup will be coming shortly.
Yep.
We're just running a little bit ahead of hair and makeup. So just bear with us. You have to look at this, but we're glad that you're here, and we appreciate likes, follows, shares, subscribe. We really appreciate all the people that will be in the live stream with us, and we appreciate comments and the interaction that we have. We appreciate Christine, Blessed of Blooming Homestead, Shraka, and many others, and Beartron from time to time, and Jake and I both will be in there, and feel free to interact. And thanks to Christina, we have a quote page, and we have some new quotes up there. Thank you for that.
Thank you for the assist.
Yep. And anyway, so we have been working on some things, but Jake, what else do we need them to do? Anything else?
So I think you mentioned the like and the subscribe stuff. So also share this with someone if you find some value in it, and hopefully they will also share it. And that's how the word gets out. So
Yep. And we do recommend a couple of things like the whole Bible community website. If you're not on a social media platform, that's a good one. And also the Life Network and Luke, what they're doing over there, Luke Baffy. And join that. He's got a Roku thing coming soon, and it's going to be easier and easier to subscribe and watch his content.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on out there.
Yep. Well, we're in the middle of a multiple-part series about how Christians follow Torah too. And we are looking at some common beliefs that we believe that we share in common with almost all Christian believers out there. Of course, a universal term like that is not really possible, as we know, in this world. But anyway, we hope these are thought-provoking to you and could help you in a conversation, maybe when you have with someone that wants to argue, hey, I don't have to follow Torah. Well, actually, you probably are following Torah, and you just didn't acknowledge it.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's hopefully a way for you to find common ground with your fellow man. All right. So hopefully we can see that. Looks like we can.
All right.
Okay. Christians Follow Torah episode, I think it's Exodus Edition, episode 4, 3? I can't remember.
3? We wrote 3, but who knows?
Yeah.
You're keeping track.
Somewhere. Yeah. So this is all in Exodus, but now I'm like, what chapter? I think this is 20, since we were 22. So I think this is in 23, 4. And it says, but if the stolen animal is found alive in his possession, whether it's a bull, a donkey, or a sheep, he must make up for the loss with double the amount. Whenever someone lets his livestock graze in a field or vineyard and they stray and graze into another person's field, he must make up for what is damaged in the field that was expected to produce. But if he lets them ruin the whole field with their grazing, he must make up for it from his own fields for the loss with the best of his field and vineyard. So I think this one is interesting, Jake, because a lot of law today is still based upon this principle. So if you are a farmer or rancher, and, in my world growing up, one of our neighbors sprayed a chemical on our wheat called 2,4-D. He was spraying something else, and 2,4-D is, kills the plant. And, we had to... he was kind of cantankerous, and he should have on his own followed this. But I think my grandfather had to sue him over it or something for the damage, or they had to threaten to, and the guy finally compensated him for his loss. But, this principle, it looks, it still could be this literal, but it also applies to kind of other things here.
Yeah, this looks just like what you would see from, here, I'm suing you for damages. Is even how it's, mentioned. So once you've damaged something and now of someone else's, and now you have to recompense for it. So I think this is in agreement.
Yeah, and I think most people, most cultures around the world operate with this kind of idea. It's not unique to the States.
Okay, and then continuing, whenever a fire starts and spreads into the underbrush so that it burns up stacked or standing grain or ruins a field, the person who started the fire must make up for the loss. This is what you must do whenever someone gives his neighbor silver or other valuables to keep for him, and they are stolen from that person's house. If the thief is caught, he must make up for the loss with double the amount. If the thief is not caught, the owner of the house must be brought to Elohim to find out whether or not he took his neighbor's valuables. Yeah, we had a couple years ago, we had a grass fire across the street, and we never really figured out like how it started. But it was a cold, I think it was like late fall, early winter. And we looked outside. It was real late, like maybe 2 a.m. And my wife's not a great sleeper, so she's like, "Hey, what's that ominous glow coming in our bedroom window?" And we're like, "I don't know." So we look out, and the whole across the street field is on fire, and the wind was blowing really hard, and it was real cold out. And so anyway, I don't know who paid for that, but the fire trucks came and tore through fences and hosed everything down, and it was pretty crazy. And so got close with a neighbor through that experience, but don't go burning down people's fields.
Yeah. And the whole thing about too, the if you steal from somebody, you got to pay it back. So and then even consulting God to figure out, to help you figure it out, kind of thing. So, but I probably should have separated these two. But it is interesting. This concept is found in Torah, practiced in modern law today.
You think we do a lot of double the amount, or I think a lot of people kind of add the double part when they're making a claim. They're like, they took from me $10 billion dollars worth of silver.
Yeah, I had 10 billion laying around.
Yeah.
Well, definitely in the monetary lawsuit part, the trial lawyers have built their name on that.
Yeah.
So, the hammer, the Texas, the law hawk that we have a few around here in DFW, and they've made a living at this. Speaking of, we had a guy that he got in a bad wreck, hurt him pretty bad, and we're driving one of our vehicles. And then somehow at some point he tried to sue us, and we're like, wait a minute. Why, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And he backed off. I'm like,
sorry guys. I just got a little
crazy. I'm like,
I saw the dollar signs.
Yeah.
The lawyer was saying I could sue everybody.
Yeah. So I just went down the list. So, but definitely, I do think you see that, sometimes. I don't know if it's always double, sometimes it's up to a jury here, what they decide to award somebody.
Yeah.
And then they have things like pain and suffering, and which are very arbitrary.
Right.
But this is not arbitrary, because this was, if you're, you look up the Kelly Blue Book value of your car and double it.
Yeah.
So that's what he had to pay back. So there's no pain and suffering, mental anguish mentioned in here.
Right.
So
yeah, that's all made up.
Yeah. The lawyer made that up.
Mm-hmm.
And if there is a dispute over the ownership of a bull, a donkey, a sheep, an article of clothing, or any other lost property, which two people claim as their own, both people must bring their case to Elohim. The one whom Elohim declares guilty must make up for his neighbor's loss with double the amount. This is what you must do whenever someone gives his neighbor a donkey, a bull, a sheep, or any other kind of animal to keep for him, and it dies, it's injured, or it's captured in war, and there are no witnesses. So very specific.
Yeah. So this makes me think of Solomon, and when they bring the child, the two moms bring the child up, and they claim it's theirs, and then he's like, "Okay, we'll cut it in half." So, I mean,
the real mom stood up.
Yeah, double of half is one, so she did make up the loss with double the amount, right? She would have only had half. So
yeah, well, true.
So bam, Solomon keeping the Torah.
That's right. Yeah.
I don't think that's quite how that works, but
no. But definitely,
but there's something to that. Come on.
Yeah, it's not too far off. So same zip code for sure. But same idea. But very specific too, because, think about cars and stuff, we don't, anything I've ever sold, I've always been like, all sales are finals, no returns, exchanges, refunds, no warranties. Is right in the ad. And so, man, I don't know. Because this kind of implies that you sold an animal and then it died. That there's a procedure. So,
I wonder if this carries on to the next slide. Like if the next verse. Yeah. The case between them must be settled by swearing an oath to Yahweh that the neighbor did not take the other person's animal. The owner must accept the oath. The neighbor doesn't have to make up for the loss, but if the animal was stolen from the neighbor, he must make up for the owner's loss. If it was killed by a wild animal, he must bring in the dead body as evidence. He doesn't have to make up for an animal that has been killed. And then we'll just pick up the next one as we go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is the completing of that scenario where you've lent your animal to the neighbor, it dies, and now there's seems like some kind of contractual declaring of no, this was under your care, this was actually mine, you didn't steal it, all that stuff. So,
or there was nothing wrong, but I guess this could go either way, because maybe you knowingly sold somebody a sick animal.
Yeah.
And then you're like, yeah, it's great, it's healthy, just like you could do with a car.
Yeah.
This transmission would go 1,000,000 miles, I guarantee. And then they drive it home and it doesn't make it. So I don't know. Do you think that this is saying there's some kind of guarantee? Or you're saying there's an investigation that occurs to verify what happened?
Go to the next slide there. I think
because that's talking about stealing,
or
being killed by an animal. So there's kind of a procedure. It can't just be, it died. Well, how did it die?
Right. You have to figure out what exactly happened.
Mm-hmm.
You got to call in the detectives.
Yeah, because if it's killed by a wild animal, of course you can't be held responsible.
Right.
So. All right, and then whenever someone borrows an animal from his neighbor and it's injured or dies while the owner is not present, the borrower must make up for the loss. If the owner is with the animal, the borrower doesn't have to make up for the loss. If it's rented, the rental fee covers the loss. And then let's pause right there. So it's kind of interesting too. They had animals that they rented.
Yeah.
So, and also if you've borrowed equipment from somebody before younger Matt was real poor, and he wasn't very good at doing these things. And so as I got a little bit older, I realized, when I borrowed something, like I borrowed a welder to weld, make a porch, and had that welder for like, I don't know, 6 months to a year ish while I was borrowing it. And while I had it, I put a new battery on it. I put tires on it. I put a carburetor on it. I made some other upgrades to it. I think I put lights on the trailer, and then I gave it back. And when you do that kind of thing, the next time you need it, in fact, the guy was like, shoot, let me look around here. Let me see what else I got you might want to borrow.
Yeah.
How long you want to borrow it?
Yeah.
So, if you do that kind of thing, people don't mind at all. So, but that is a principle that if it breaks under your watch, I mean,
your responsibility. Yeah.
And if you look at rental agreements, most rental agreements today will say really scary things in the verbiage, and but they don't always. They do have insurance and things on some of those today. They don't always hold you, but I think if they felt like you were doing something really dumb, like using it in a way, like if you rent the backhoe and you're out doing donuts and wheelies on the backhoe and you lay the backhoe over on its side.
Yeah.
Which I have been a part of before. And I know this from firsthand knowledge that it can be done. We did not lay it over. But,
did the rental agreement cover that?
Well, they didn't know.
Okay.
Because we didn't lay it over.
Okay.
But had we laid it on its side, doing that would have been hard to explain.
Right.
But anyway.
Yeah, we had a situation that Matt tried to assist with, and we had a rental of a piece of equipment, and it got stuck. And so we rented. We kept pushing the rental further, like, oh, well, we're going to need it another day. We're going to need it another day. And then eventually they're like, okay, we gave them the whole story of what was going on, and they were real awesome with us. They're like, no, that's what the rental fee is for. So we ended up like chopping this thing in half and giving them half of it back. And they're like, okay, we'll just fix the rest of it. And they just said the rental fee covered the loss, and because we weren't like doing something irresponsible with it. It just, the way things worked out or didn't.
And it's still there to this day.
That's right. I think eventually
one day
we could fix that other half.
It'll be removed.
That's right.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So
Good thing we're not doctors.
Yeah. So they
this thing broke, and you're just gonna have to live with it. And one day it'll just maybe fall out. Maybe. It may still be in you. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah. Speaking of that, I should probably give it a tug again.
I don't know. He's talking about it. I think we have to clarify what you're talking about.
Okay. This was I had roots growing in my main line for my waste water system, my septic line, my main trunk line, and I had roots growing in there. And the snake somehow got stuck in there. And so now I got this big snake hanging out of my main trunk line. Anyway, if anyone knows how to fix that, other than digging under my house, then that's kind of what we're looking for.
Dawn soap is the answer to everything, but it didn't help with this.
No, it's funny. It's only like 5-10 feet in. It doesn't obstruct. It doesn't mess with anything, any of the plumbing or anything. It's just enough to be a pain in the butt, or trunk line, pain in the trunk line. So, put in the comments how to fix that.
Yes. All right, 16.
All right. Whenever a man seduces a virgin who is not engaged to anyone and has sexual intercourse with her, he must pay the bride price and marry her. If her father absolutely refuses to give her to him, he must pay an amount of money equal to the bride price for virgins. So, do you see a lot of church folk doing this game here?
No, I don't think many people in the world today are too worried about any of that, in my experience. So
Okay.
that's not real high,
Okay.
on their priority list.
Although I do think that if you made a stink about this, I think this is something the church would get on board with.
Yeah.
Like, because I think they're always trying to figure out ways to, you know, import on the teenagers in the
Yeah.
in the group how
Mhm.
to be responsible and respectful of each other. And I think that maybe if things were brought back to this kind of a scenario, it would make a lot more sense.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there seems to be no consequence for living together, living in sin, or as my great grandma would say, they're living like dogs, Matt. So, and one time she refused to let my uncle stay in her house because he had a live-in lady, and she was like, "You're not gonna live like a dog in my house."
Good for her.
So he didn't.
Yeah.
He slept somewhere else.
Okay. Out in the rain.
Yes.
No. So yeah, isn't this the old shotgun wedding scenario here?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So see, the South does this.
Yeah. And my favorite, never let a witch live.
So Matt, you doing a lot of witch trials?
Not since Salem.
Okay.
So, but I will say, we watched now I recommend and don't recommend it, but in Amazon Prime, there's a series called The House of David, and it's pretty good. But they do take a lot of weird liberties, and so I cannot defend them at all. But they confuse and mix up storylines, and then just there are some things that you don't know, and I think everyone accepts
that you have to kind of make the story flow, right?
But then when they mix stories, it's like, what are you doing? That didn't happen that way. But anyway, it does go into the details about the witch stuff and how it affected Saul, the witchcraft, and from everything from Agag's sword, Agag himself, really portrays him as this creepy, out of his mind, demon possessed kind of person, and then it affects Saul. Yeah. And that all checks 100%. So, but yeah, never let a witch live. Saul did not follow that, and it cost him lots of things.
Yeah.
So caused him lots of heartache.
Yeah, one of the things that was kind of disappointing in that movie was was it Saul's wife, or that show? Saul's wife had the Witch of Endor just hanging out with her and in her ear like the whole time. It's like, I don't know that all that happened.
Yeah.
But it seemed like they kind of wanted to give screen time to the witchcraft stuff. But I don't know. It was interesting. I'm not sure, like Matt said, I don't know that I could recommend it, but it, certain parts of it were definitely very, very accurate.
I liked it better than The Chosen in some ways, because The Chosen really lost me when they were saying, then they were talking about the disciples, and they're like, "Oh, I wonder what bacon tastes like. Maybe it's not too bad." And I was like, "Whoa,
easy!"
They didn't say that. I'm like, y'all went too far,
right?
So, anyway, yeah. Put your thoughts if you've watched it. Was it good? Was it bad? Do you recommend it? And then, whoever has sexual intercourse with an animal must be put to death. We don't really do that, but I do know that most people broaching this subject with them, that they would be like, yeah, that's disgusting, and it's not too far of a reach to go, yeah, that's perverted and you don't deserve to live.
Probably frowned upon.
Yeah, you definitely go to jail, and it is still taken to be pretty serious. In most countries, as far as I know, there's going to be a consequence. It's not going to be a nice thing.
And in some countries, there's no consequence.
Really? What would that be?
I think Matt. Okay. So the next one, put it in the comments. You guys know.
Whoever sacrifices to any god except Yahweh must be condemned or destroyed. That is something I think that most Christians are going to believe for sure, and say they believe, but yet when it comes to Christmas tree and Easter, sometimes they're not. They just don't recognize and see that could possibly be it. And speaking of, there's a bunch of people in the Torah community that have kind of gone back on some of those things, but
yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, and I just can't see how that's cool to do.
Yeah, I think that's funny because we always want these things to apply to that evil person over there. That pagan society over there is doing it, but remember, all these commands were meant for the house. These are in the house. This stuff's going on that they have to put an end to.
Mm-hmm.
Additionally, the whole "don't let a witch live," this guy be put to death and those destroyed. This would have gone through a trial system essentially with the priests, and they would have been making that decision. So that wasn't like the regular.
When the Wild West, where they ride up on their horse and a rope and a limb, and they're like, "Yep, they were done with this guy."
Yep,
wasn't quite like that,
right? So by saying that, yeah, we kind of agree with these concepts, sure, but we're not in a position to let loose justice from our hands.
Yeah,
so
that's right. Never mistreat or oppress foreigners because you are foreigners living in Egypt. This quote often gets misused, I believe, in America today, especially with people coming in from our other, from other countries. But there's truth, to those things. We don't have to. To me, this is like, could you say racism, prejudiced? Yeah. So this speaks against that kind of idea for sure, that you can't just judge and decide you hate someone because of the way they look, where they're from, because in the end, Yah made all these people, and you should have compassion on your fellow man. I mean, I think that's it's interesting because we see the scripture, love God, love people. Well, all the things we're reading about here are involving how do you love people. And this is one of the ways you love people, is you don't oppress them.
Right.
And don't take advantage of a widow or orphan. If you do, they're going to cry out to me, and you can be sure I'll hear their cry. I will become angry and have you killed in combat. So definitely not a good thing. But and I think that for sure is a universal thing in all cultures, all places. Everyone, in their heart knows that you take care of the old people, you take care of the widows, the people, you take care of the orphans and the children. Now, sometimes some countries don't do that very well. But another good movie I challenge you to watch, and this one I can recommend. It is in Amazon too, and it's called Molly, and it's about this African guy that lives in Kenya, and he is very wealthy, and it's his story of how he takes on orphans, and it's powerful. And his family thought he was crazy, had lost his mind. He basically lost his fortune in the process, and then eventually rebuilds it. But yeah, just made his life goal to protect the children that couldn't do anything for themselves. And so many of these kids went on to be doctors and lawyers and very successful people. Went to school in the United States sometimes, and then came back and decided to live back in Africa and help people that they came from. So
yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, it's a good one. So
yeah, this is I will become angry and have you killed in combat. He kind of has a specific remedy for that situation.
Very specific, yes. So if you don't go to combat, I guess you're okay.
There you go. So you're encouraging the taking advantage of widows and orphans.
No, I'm not encouraging that at all. So, But, it's interesting to me, even people that I've worked with and worked around who, sometimes can be just the most vile cuss people, where they're just bad word after bad word and can't even hardly speak any word in English except for all the bad words that you're not supposed to say. And yet I've seen them, be defensive and not want to take advantage of especially a widow, that you might encounter. It makes them mad when they see that happen. So it's just interesting how, for as many things that seem so bad in the world, there's still some things that upset people, and they will do the right thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of good ones in this section here.
So this is the continuation of that, Jake.
Then your wives and children will become widows and orphans. Oh yeah, if you're hating on widows and orphans, then your children will become widows and orphans. See, he's eye for eye there. He's the punishment fits the crime.
Yeah.
If you lend money to my people, to any poor person among you, never act like a moneylender. Charge no interest. If you take any of your neighbor's clothes as collateral, give it back to him by sunset. It may be the only clothes he has to cover his body. What else will he sleep in? When he cries out to me, I will listen because I am compassionate.
Yeah, it's interesting how he hears the cry. We read that in that earlier scripture when the mistreated cry out to him. He hears that, and it is a matter of fact. That they're going to cry out. Of course, they're going to cry out, and then you're in trouble because he is going to listen. He cares, and if our money system worked like this, we would be so much better off. And that is one reason why people traditionally have hated the Jewish people, because they tend to be really good at collecting some money. And, they won't charge each other interest, help each other out. But, I think that's interesting.
Yeah, I think I don't have the verse offhand, but I believe it does specify within the camp, don't charge interest. But the foreigner, you're allowed to charge interest to.
Yeah.
So they've definitely taken that one and been successful with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. And used by different cultures to do that thing.
Yeah.
To their benefit, where they charged interest to the foreigner.
Yeah. I mean, this is also a, keep the money in the house kind of situation.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if it's my family, right? If my son needs something,
yeah,
I'm going to give it to him,
Mm-hmm.
So I think when this is all working right and we're a family the way we're supposed to be, this isn't an issue. And it's, the way people think about it is correct.
Yeah. And then you couple this with the rules about the Jubilee year and all of that. Yeah. And that takes a whole nother meaning to it too. You hit those years and then you're forgiven.
Right.
One
thing too I wanted to mention, just with the previous one, your wives and children will become widows and orphans, and the whole idea of this is what you're intending to happen to them, or you're mistreating them, and so this is what's going to happen to you. A lot of this was one of the big points in the law was, if you falsely charge someone with something and they determine it was false, you suffer the penalty for what you were charging them of, right? And so I think that perhaps when we see a bunch of stuff online and start charging people with stuff, maybe that should be something we think about. Like, well, I could be wrong about that. And then if I'm assuming this person did something that requires this punishment, does that then fall back on me and Yah's eyes?
Oof, yeah, that's scary. Yeah, you got to be careful about those things. So, and when we do take it serious in our culture, slander and defamation, a lot of people get sued when they make allegations sometimes that aren't true. or unfounded.
Right.
Yeah. So we definitely interesting. And then the last part of this says, never show disrespect for Elohim or curse the leader of your people. So, you see David really lived that out with Saul to this crazy extent. And, I wonder sometimes on David in his story, I think part of it, David was not ready, and he had to kind of go through this journey and this process to be ready to be the king that he needed to be.
Do you think that's why Yahweh let it play out as long as he did, is because he was kind of forging the leader he needed out of David?
Yeah, he needed him to go through some stuff to make him what he needed him to be, to give him the depth that he needed.
Yeah.
So, then also, I don't think in 28 he's talking about like if you are a United States citizen. Is he? That's a good question. Is he saying don't curse the leader of our people? So, I wouldn't. It's like, who is the leader of the people?
Right, because you would say, well, Yeshua is the leader of the people, right? Or something like that. Or
it's like a spiritual head, for sure, that I believe he's talking about. Not necessarily a physical head. It's not the Rome. It's not necessarily the government that you're under. It could be.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see, I don't really see a lot of precedent in Scripture where they go out to leaders of other nations and necessarily like curse them per se. You know what I mean? Like they're not like giving them a hard time in that way. It's, we're charged with destroying you because you're doing evil things.
Well, no, I'm thinking like this doesn't, sometimes scriptures can be misapplied, like the scriptures that say obey the government, but these two things are talking about the same government. It's about a spiritual government. It's not necessarily the leader. It doesn't necessarily mean it's talking about the president of the United States is your leader or your congressman, but I believe he's talking about a spiritual leader of your people.
See, I think it has a kind of both and.
Good.
Like Joseph. Mm-hmm. Joseph was told
he was respectful.
He was told to.
That's what you're saying. Yeah.
And then let's see, Paul and Yeshua, they didn't badmouth their leaders. They disagreed with them, and vehemently so, to their death. Mm-hmm. But they didn't curse the leaders. They said, you only have the power that Yahweh's given you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So, and I think when you think about it, like, we get the leaders we deserve as a people. I tend to think that Yahweh has a hand in choosing our leaders. And I think it's based on, what the people have kind of earned for themselves. I think too that, I think what's funny about it though is like we'll go, like I saw this a lot in 2015, 2016, and it was, Trump won, so Yahweh helped Trump win, and then Biden wins, quote unquote. Biden wins, and they're like, oh shucks, we got hosed, and but there's no mention of Yahweh allowed this to happen. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, did Yahweh choose your leader then, and then Yahweh was defeated or something over here for this leader to be chosen? So I think we tend to kind of put that behind us when it doesn't turn out the way we want. So maybe some balance on how we're looking at that.
Yeah, no, that's good. And that's also fodder for people that are atheists who don't want to believe and that kind of thing. So they will say that very thing.
Right.
They will call you out on it. And there is a logic flaw with that. And you should be honest with it. But I think you're right to an extent about that. You don't see a lot of evidence, where he's condemning them to curse the leader of the people. Often it is, if you see that happen, it's maybe the leader of his people that he's punishing.
Yeah.
So because they did not obey.
Right. If you find yourself in that position, you're cursed. Right.
Yeah.
So when you find yourself taken over by the enemy, it's a curse. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like people use the argument of, well, if you were, I don't remember where I heard this. It might have been outside the camp, but I don't remember. If it wasn't you, Andrew, too bad, you get the credit. But he said it was something like, well, if you're starving somewhere and you don't have there's some pork or nothing, do you eat the pork?
It was Andrew.
Yeah. And he's like, no, I don't eat the pork. At that point, if that's your only choice, you're cursed. You've gone beyond where you need to be, and Yahweh's cursed you with only bad options. So
yeah, it's a good point.
It is a good point.
No,
Andrew made it better, but
all right, moving right along, still talking about how to treat others. I don't know whose turn. Your turn?
I'll read. I ain't scared. Never withhold your best wine from me. You must give me your firstborn son. You must do the same with your cattle and your sheep. They will stay with their mothers 7 days, but on the 8th day, you must give them to me. You must be my holy people. Never eat the meat of an animal that has been killed by wild animals out in the countryside. Throw it to the dogs.
Yeah, somebody last week commented and said something about, I think they were alluding to, we were endorsing eating roadkill. And we did have a story, but we're not endorsing roadkill because I think this answers your question right here. I think that
also roadkill is not an animal that died of itself. You killed it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Whether you killed it with a speeding car or a speeding bullet.
Right.
Now, there is a difference in the meat, I'm sure. One is
depends on where you hit
preferable. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, no, you're right about that. That is interesting to think about. So I do think, yes, that is an arguable point. But is a speeding car any different than a speeding bullet? I don't know. Seems about the same.
Same effect.
The bullet's just bigger.
You're right. So I think this is interesting. Never withhold your best wine from me. You must give me your firstborn son.
How do those go together?
Yeah. Is it like it almost looks like it's pulling out like a celebratory situation?
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh, this great thing is happening. We'll pull out the best wine, right?
Yeah.
Not the leave the crap for the beginning of the wedding and that kind of thing.
And you see his compassion here with animals. Let them be with their mothers for 7 days. But then on the 8th day, they're consecrated to him.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, I don't think he's saying you wean the babies in 8 days. I don't think that's what he's saying, but it's a consecration deal.
Yeah. This is for, I believe this is for sacrifice purposes, right?
Yeah.
The 8th day sacrifice things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the mother gets the chance to be with her offspring. It's funny that it's 8 days. It lines up with circumcision. Also, so we got
and Sukkot.
Yeah,
the 8th day.
Yep, we got some bees in the mail, and interestingly,
Is this somebody you trust, or a friend or foe? Let me send you some bees.
We asked for it.
Oh, okay.
They'll tell you. They'll tell you we asked for it.
Shake this up real good and then open it.
Yeah. But so they came and they were all dead. I don't know if anyone else has had that issue, but I think it was a heat issue, hot in the truck kind of scenario. Anyway, all that to say, some were alive. Okay. There was most of them dead, but some were alive. And we're like, okay, well, we'll try to kind of combine these 2 packages of bees into one hive and try to save it, right? And you'll be glad to know that there is a queen cell forming, and we'll have to see how that turns out. But
I thought you were going to say this was Lord of the Flies, and they all died.
No, well, not yet, but we're still working on it. But point being, once you put them in the hive, you kind of want to wait 8 days to go check on them. So when that day came, I just told everyone I got to go circumcise the bees, because that's kind of an 8th-day thing, right?
Yeah, you must be good with a knife.
That's right. So
real good. All right.
So remember, 8th day before you circumcise your bees.
Yes, very important. All right, and then we're going to deal with hearsay. Exodus 23:1. The Lord continued, never spread false rumors. Don't join forces with wicked people by giving false testimony. We kind of talked about that earlier, and definitely laws about defamation and character assassination. And we're not supposed to do that. And people online kind of feel free, especially in social media. It seems to be really bad with this. People, keyboard warriors, feel real brave saying things online sometimes.
Especially nowadays with AI stuff, you can put anything out there and say that it's real.
Mm-hmm.
And it's bad news out there.
Yeah.
This goes into this is kind of pretty famous story, I think, but the lady goes to I think it's a priest, and says,
it sounds like a joke.
I laughed, but she says, hey, I said I spread some bad info to someone or gossiped about someone, and how can I fix it? And he goes, okay, go to the top of your house and cut open your pillow and let the feathers blow in the wind, and then come back to me the next day. So she does that, and she goes, okay, I don't know how that helped. And she goes, so how, anyway, next step, how can I fix this? And he goes, go pick up every feather. And obviously you can't. And so that's kind of the story there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever heard that, but
no, I've never heard that before.
I don't remember who that's attributed to. It might
be
might be a Catholic story. Put it in the comments if you know.
Yeah. All right. Don't spread your feathers everywhere.
Yep.
Or is it spread your wings and you can fly? I don't know.
That's it.
Said Spirit Airlines.
Ooh, too soon, Matt.
Mob rules, Exodus 23:2.
I am going to miss the fights in the
yes
everywhere. I was going to say in the plane, but it's also at the gate, on the ramp.
Yeah. Speaking of that, mob rules 23:2. Never follow a crowd doing wrong. When you testify in court, don't side with the majority to pervert justice. So it doesn't justify getting caught up in the moment. I have heard that used in argument in trial, and sometimes maybe there have been sentences where people have argued this in court and maybe won. I don't think it's right. It doesn't justify burning down the target because you're mad about something and you don't even know why you're mad. Probably you just joined in with all these other people doing bad things and you're like, yeah.
Okay, so we know what doesn't justify burning down target. Matt, tell us what does justify.
Nothing.
Okay, that is the correct answer. Okay.
Yes.
For this one, I think about a little fella named OJ.
Mm.
Have you heard of this man?
Yeah.
Okay. Does this sound like it would fit that situation?
If it don't fit, you must have quit.
That's right. So you had a bunch of people that who didn't want to see race relations get worse. And so they picked an answer to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
An answer to that was we'll just make this court case turn out the way we want it to, so that it looks good for everybody.
Yeah.
And to make up for all this other stuff that went wrong. It's like, well, that's not how that works. Either, you have to take a case on an individual basis.
Yeah. But just like your mom always said, you don't do it just because everyone else is doing it, even though that argument gets used a lot, but doesn't make it right.
Right. Okay, partiality. 23, Exodus 23:3. Never give special favors to poor people in court. How do you like that? Singling out poor people in court.
Yeah. Sometimes you do go, what about rich people? I don't think you're supposed to do it for rich people either.
I think that's in there too.
Yeah.
Maybe not in this part of scripture, but it's definitely in there somewhere.
And then James 5:4 goes with it. The wages you refuse to pay people who harvest your fields, shout to God against you. The Lord of armies has heard the cries of those who gather the crops.
Right.
So more crying out and the Father hearing him. So he definitely has a heart for the poor and the oppressed.
The worker is worth his wage.
Yeah.
Okay, whenever you come across your enemy's ox or donkey wandering loose, be sure to take it back to him. Yeah, this is, I think people do this.
Yeah.
In general.
Yeah, you see, I've seen Facebook posts before, like, hey, anybody see that we found this dog? Now, there are some people who don't, but a lot of times you do see people trying to reunite, especially an animal, back to its owner.
Yeah, the other side of this is when you don't know who it belongs to, you're meant to hold on to it until the owner comes looking for it, and you go, here's your thing that escaped. Or whatever it is.
Yeah, growing up, we had some family that had a big farm up in Oklahoma, and we used to work wheat harvest with them. And they had this, it might have been a collie or something, and he would follow slow-moving vehicles down the road. And so there were a lot of slow-moving vehicles. This is all dirt road country. And so he followed some tractor, got lost, was miles away, and he had 2 little boys at home that just loved him. And he ended up with some old couple that had lost their child, and they were lonely, and this dog just came their best friend. And my cousin, or I guess he's like an uncle, that had to, when he finally found the dog, he said it just broke his heart taking that dog from that old couple. And but I mean, it was his family and it was his children's dog. But he said that was a tough moment because they had just fell in love with this dog, and but he had a hard time with that. But
yeah,
anyway,
yeah, I think a point that could be made about this one and don't give special favors to poor people in court kind of thing is don't let your heart eat your brain.
Yeah.
So
because it's still your animal,
right?
So, and it's one thing if you choose to do that, but you certainly don't have to do it. And then Exodus 23:5, whenever you see the donkey of someone who hates you has collapsed under its load, don't leave it there. Be sure to help him with his animal. So, have compassion on your neighbor, even the guy you hate. And if he needs help, go help him. And, that's a humble pill to swallow. And people, we don't always want to do that kind of thing. And this is the kind of thinking that you see Yeshua speak of in the New Testament, is this going beyond just following the command, doing the heart difficult things, because this is a difficult thing to do.
Right. He makes the point that, who won't do something nice like this for someone they care about? What sets you apart is doing something like this for someone who is your enemy. Yeah.
It's a tough one.
So would this look like a vehicle today?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Collapsed under its load.
Bad day.
Never deny justice to poor people in court. That's right. I mean, justice can look good for the poor person or bad for the poor person. Yeah. It's justice either way. Yeah. Who knows what lesson Yah has for someone who falls on the bad side of justice decision.
Yeah.
Can change their life for the better.
Yeah.
To be kind of held to task on bad behavior.
Yeah. And Exodus 23:7, avoid telling lies. Don't kill innocent or honest people, because I will never declare guilty people innocent. So it's interesting too. You've got telling lies along with killing honest people. So interesting that those are put together. And then something we've talked about before, blind justice, Exodus 23:8. Never take a bribe, because the bribe's blind who can see and deny justice to those who are in the right. So we talked about how in America we have blind justice. What does that mean?
Yeah, it could mean one of two things, right? It could mean I don't look at who this applies to. I just apply the law equally, no matter who's in front of me. Or it could look like I'm going to turn my eyes away from what's happening over there and kind of let something slide for someone.
Well, and unfortunately, the world has seen firsthand recently where there's some names on a big list that everybody talks about, and nothing really's happened because they have maybe paid off people, and everyone is just like, nothing to see here. We don't see any reason to prosecute or go after any of these people, bring the whole system down. And so I think that we see that played out in our world today, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of this that is bad news. A lot of bad news happening with this, but I don't think in the spirit of bringing us back to our purpose behind doing this series even is I think we're in general agreement with the church on bribe equals bad.
Yeah. Now, though, I did think years ago the Trunk Monkey commercials were funny, where you have it's by Chevrolet Suburban Auto, and they made this whole series, and one of them was a trunk monkey that comes, bails you out, and you're getting a ticket, and you press the button, and the trunk opens, and this monkey comes up and stands next to the cop, like gives him a donut, and then the next thing you know, the monkey's giving him cash. So
you're saying that was bad then?
Yes, that's bad. But called the Trunk Monkey.
It's funny though. I think I don't know if anyone else has thought of it this way, but I think in some ways the justice system is kind of set up to like encourage you to bribe them. Isn't that technically what a fine is?
Oh, yeah.
You can do that. You just have to pay us money.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bribe.
Yeah.
I think a fine is a bribe. It's probably a little of both.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it depends on it. I guess if the fine is super high compared to the crime, you would call that extortion. But if it's just it kind of fits, then I think you're talking bribe.
What about taking the toll road here? What is that?
That's unjust.
Yes, it's for sure. When it's like, you can take this road over here and it's $20 one way, or you can drive like the poor people and you can sit in traffic.
That's right.
Which one do you want?
What's funny is when you're driving in the poor people lane and you look over and you're passing the people in the rich people lane.
Yeah. That's a good day.
That $20 is really working for
money
you.
Well spent.
Yep.
Exodus 23:9, never oppress foreigners. You know what it's like to be foreigners because you're foreigners living in Egypt. And that is a second time that one's been mentioned, which also means it's important.
Yeah.
If he mentioned it twice.
Or it just fits into a different category.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know which.
Okay.
All right. Yes, don't do the foreigner thing. Okay, Sabbath. For 6 days you will do your work, but on the seventh day you must not work. Then your ox and donkey can rest. The slaves born in your household and foreigners will also be refreshed. So yeah, go ahead.
But definitely a principle that we honor, but some people do it on Sunday, but yeah, a lot of folks honor a day of rest.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this in a previous one, but some church people would call Sunday a Sabbath. Some people recognize that Saturdays are the actual Sabbath, but it just doesn't matter. So you're kind of playing hoppity scotchety with this one, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. This one definitely is not necessarily is universal, but I do think most people, that they will use terms like I'm going on a sabbatical.
Right.
I've got to take a break from this. And so, people do throw this concept around a lot.
I think people recognize the value of the concept.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then Exodus 29:7, take the anointing oil, pour it on his head, and anoint him. I do think that's a common belief in church today about having an anointing. I know in my workplace, we've all agreed before we prayed over our building and anointed it with oil. And
was it the oil you're not allowed to make?
No, not that I'm aware of. I did not.
Did it have garlic in it? Like some roasted garlic?
No.
And you could sop it up with bread?
No.
Because that's real good.
Yes.
I haven't eaten dinner yet.
Oh, yeah.
So clearly that's where my head is.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom would always do this growing up. And, we kind of thought she was a little crazy because no one else really did this. Like at church, no one did this. My mom didn't go to church, but she read her Bible more than anyone I knew. And, she was a big influence on me in that way. And, but she would do this. If something was amiss, she'd get the oil out. And we're like, Mom, why are you rubbing oil on stuff?
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, 'cause it says to.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Well, I apologize right now for whoever in 8th grade or 9th grade I anointed with Stetson cologne and poured it on their head. So it was literally like a youth group thing, and we were supposed to bring cologne, but I'm like,
oil? You're supposed to bring oil?
And I had Stetson.
Basically the same.
Probably burned their eyes. I don't know. I apologize. Good old Stetson. Did you ever see Stetson? It came in a clear bottle, but it's kind of yellow.
Yeah, mine was. I had Stetson growing up, and it was in it was like a brown.
Yeah,
and it had I think it had longhorn horns on it.
Lasso,
something.
Yeah.
Had like a embossed glass jar. It was fancy.
But I do think it is kind of a similar concept. It was a sweet or a good smelling oil. It wasn't like used cooking oil that you poured on people's heads, because that would be gross.
Some peanut oil.
Yes. All right.
Just slapping people with French fries.
Dan, your favorite.
Aaron and his sons will use it for washing their hands and feet. The oil, I imagine that's saying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But definitely, people still practice this. You've talked about, a church that you knew that practiced this. And, sometimes people will reenact this and, the same group setting, a youth group thing. I think we anointed people and we washed their feet the next day or something,
Yeah, Seventh-day Adventist, big on the feet washing. Mm-hmm. And we always do it at Passover time. We always kind of recreate the Last Supper scenario and do the foot washing.
And it's a little lost in our culture just because we wear socks and shoes. But back when people had open shoes, yeah, their feet got gross.
I don't know, man. I think feet are still gross.
Yeah, they're not. It's not super pleasant. Yeah. In fact, you might argue they're more gross when you put them in a sock and shoe and let them be sweaty all day than just being out in the open.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Exodus 31:3. I have filled Bezalel with the Ruach Elohim, making him highly skilled, resourceful, and knowledgeable in all trades. Yeah, the idea of being filled with the Spirit. The Bezalel thing is funny because the kids watch this show with these They used to. They watch this little, like, I don't know what it is, cartoon thing, but it's like all the characters are drawn and they look like cutouts. They look like cutout paper things, and they run around. And there's this one, and it's showing this scene, and everyone in the crowd's going Bezalel, Bezalel, and it's hilarious. Mm-hmm. And so they do that once in a while. They'll just go Bezalel, especially when we read this in the portions. They'll go Bezalel.
Yeah. Well, and this is an interesting scripture too, because often neglected that there are spirit-filled people back in the Torah.
Right.
So, but definitely the church believes in spirit-filled people. Some churches more than others. Yeah. So, for sure. And Exodus 33:20. Holiness of God, but you can't see my face because no one may see me and live. So I do believe that that's a universally accepted thing. I don't think many people are going to argue, anything different than this.
Yeah, I think some people have greater reverence. Some churches, some denominations have greater reverence than others. I mean, and then some people fake it better than others, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, Exodus 34:6-7. Then Yahweh passed in front of Moses, calling out, Yahweh, Yahweh, a compassionate and merciful El, patient, always faithful and ready to forgive. He continues to show his love to thousands of generations, forgiving wrongdoing, disobedience, and sin. He never lets the guilty go unpunished, punishing children and grandchildren for their parents' sins to the third and fourth generation.
In the first part of this, you're like, nice. And they're like, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So I definitely think modern churchianity is like, they're way cool with all of this. And then this part, that's a little harder. And they're like, whoa, wait a minute. That's Old Testament. That it didn't work like that anymore. But does it?
Yeah, I think that's why my understanding of grace changed once I came to Torah, because here he's saying he doesn't let the guilty go unpunished, right? And this is him showing that he's compassionate and merciful and ready to forgive. And yet, right, he'll carry that punishment on. And I think that is grace. It's grace in the people that repent have a different reward than people who refuse to repent.
Mm-hmm.
That's a graceful thing to the repentant people. He's being graceful to the repentant people. And if he gave the same treatment to someone who refuses to come to him as he does the people that do come to him, how is that righteous? How is that being a righteous judge? How is that showing grace to the innocent, right? I think a lot of times we put ourselves in the guilty camp and go, oh, he's showing grace to me. I can remain this guilty camp and still get this grace that they're talking about. But I think there's a nuance there that the church kind of misses. And they kind of go, okay, grace everywhere. But I think that you have to make that distinction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a good point. Sounds like I thought you were about to say greasy grace there for a second. So,
well, yes.
But there is this idea of just like in the Torah, it also talks about how he's going to bless you for 1,000 generations for following Torah and doing those things. But there's also a curse when you don't do the things he's asked you to do, and it's going to be carried out on 4 generations. So there is mercy there where you see 1,000 generations for the blessing. It goes to 4 generations on this.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
And Exodus 34:8-9, immediately Moses knelt, bowing with his face touching the ground. He then said, Adonai, please go with us, even though it we are impossible to deal with. Forgive our sin and the wrong we've done, and accept us as your people, as your own people. And I think this is a common thing that you hear in a modern church today. This is a thing that we acknowledge, and we ask him to forgive us for all the dumb things we've done, because we know we've been impossible to deal with.
Yeah, I think this is an important concept to point out to church people, because a lot of people, at least in their telling of it, will say, we're in the period of grace, we're in the age of grace, and it's like, well, there always was. It always was, and this is a good place to bring them to and show them that.
Yeah.
All right. As the Spirit moves, Exodus 35:21, those who were willing and whose hearts moved them came and brought their contributions to Yahweh. The gifts were used to construct the tent of meeting, to pay other expenses, and to make the holy clothes. So, Matt, you always say something about this, and maybe I'll just throw it in your lap and go, there, read my mind, Matt.
Okay.
No? Okay. Anyway, so whenever we read this in the Torah portions, Matt always brings up there was a time where you could bring your free will gift to have the tabernacle built, and then there was a time where we have enough, and if you didn't bring something, now you got left out, and your name doesn't go into that gift that you had the opportunity to give to. And I think that's a good point that you make.
Yeah. The people that came late to that party didn't get to contribute.
Yeah,
they were too late. So and they were robbed a blessing, but they robbed it from themselves, in essence.
Yeah. So. And I think the church is very good about giving and spending money on needs of people. There's a lot of wells that people do, and food for the poor campaigns and things like that, and that I think they do really well. Obviously certain groups can give all of that a bad name, but I think in general they do a better job than pretty much anybody.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at all the disaster recovery teams that some of these groups have. My brother works for one, and goes all over the United States in disaster recovery, and they're there the instant something happens, and there are people out there doing some amazing things. Definitely being Yah's hand and feet when people need it the most, and they're crying out for help. There are people who go and do that. And there is a Torah, person that does that, and that's Bear Independent, TJ Morris, those folks. They do have is it Caleb House?
Yeah.
And
Matthew Martin's
Matthew Martin, yeah.
His thing that he does.
E15.
Yep.
All right, well, that's the end of the Exodus Christians Follow Torah in episode 3, and we're working on Leviticus on this, except the part I worked on is not quite as long. It's probably a one session one, and so that one will be coming next time we gather and do this. So
yeah.
But we do appreciate if you go to sabbathlounge.com. We have a lot of content there, from Torah portions to a quote page. Thank you, Christina. And, we just have a lot of content that we keep adding there, and we appreciate you checking it out. And as always, like, share, subscribe, comment.
Give it a thumbs up. Share it with other people.
All right, Jake, anything else?
That'll be all.
Okay. Well, this is Matt
and Jake
signing out. See you later.